Hello folks, my name is Hypocrisite and welcome to yet another episode of my HOI4 TNO campaign as Magadan or Republic of West Alaska or whereabouts, Magadan, whatever, Soldaty bez granic, mercenary 100% wholesome run. So, in the previous episode, we have managed barely to conquer Buryatia and put Sablin out of his misery. And at the last seconds, the divine mandate of Siberia managed to attack us. So we are kind of far away from home. I mean, Magadan, our capital city, but Omolon is close to us as well. There is a lot of plains, so I think that our our motorized divisions will be able to go through. But before we get further into the episode, I would like to thank my Patreon supporter, Marek. Remember that also I have a Patreon. If you want to leave me some money, then feel free to check it out. The link is in the description below. And I also would like to thank all of my wonderful audience. I think you are the best. And well, let's get started. I have already put up some plans here, but they are just for our soldiers for them to know where to go. So we need to wait for them to come up here. All right. So the father's forces are actually pushing field training. One of the unwritten rules boss taught in boot was that bitching is a free action. 10 kicks away from civilization and buried in a sub-zero snow, now Private Jack Svoboda had a lot to bitch about. His stomach suffered hunger pangs for breakfast, and his legs still ached from yesterday's march. Frostbit into skin like the fatigues weren't there. Half a brain went to keeping his mouth shut, half prayed a witless bastard would ever enter his scope before sundown. And like his gripes were an invocation, the radio blared alive. Python cracked its Russian-tinged static. Patrol, 2 at 3 lines north, 300 yards. I take left, in 3. Fucking finally. Copy, boss. Jack Near shouted as he reoriented his Springfield towards the forest's edge. As promised, 2 men shuffled out from the trees, their Arctic camouflage given away by gunmetal black. Why they were here? And what for were fleeting thoughts to the tired, hungry merc. Sooner these yahoos drop dead, sooner the RTBs to a warm meal. Jack swallowed a breath and held, like Młynasz thought. Hand steadied. He peered through the scope. The patrol had stopped. Left's body neared a pine and fiddled with his zipper. Trigger squeezed. Fine cross inched to the pisser's head. That's right. Just painting the snow yellow before a bullet blows his brain out in tone. 3. Crack. The 30-06 flew and hit snow. Head swiveled in panic. Another crack, more distant, before left lost his. His body had barely covered up before a third knocked him. Face first into his own piss. Just like that, Jack had missed his ration ticket for tonight. Wasted shots, but only time in the firing range. Well, what can I say? I hope that the loss of Magadan will not end my playthrough prematurely. Operation Guidance. Whoa. A lot of stuff is now bypassed. Or maybe let's go with the lessons learned. Werbel has defeated Sablin. His lands now belong to the Soldiers Without Borders. Sablin was young. If he were to be honest, Sablin impressed Werbel. At 23, he has ruled over a land of his own, and his ideas, along with his firm, resolute faith in them, have carried him this far. The people of Buryatia loved Sablin and his ideology, willing to die for his dream of a union of the proletariat, harkening back to the times of Lenin and the old revolution. However, what he had made was not a nation of soldiers, but dreamers. In the end, their vision of a new and better union did not pan out as well as they had expected. These young people have no business running a country. We shall throw all the reforms, alongside the institutions they are meant to apply to, straight to the dustbin of history. Werbel will honor Sablin in his own way, by using his own calloused hands to craft a system that does not and will not fail. The Stars and Stripes. "Do you come from America, boy?" Werbel said, toying with the revolver in his hand. A chopped Smith Wesson, something for emergencies. For the past hour he had loaded and unloaded bullets into it, spinning the chamber and played with the safety, all from the comfort of his arm. The boy, an aide of age 19, tried to dissuade him from doing, in a pussy's parlance, rash actions. Werbel might be drunk, but he knew what the fuck he was doing. "No, sieur." The boy's French accent bled into everything, staining his words with a tang of wine, bread and croissant, or something like that. Werbel was a stream of consciousness guy, especially when he was drunk. "Though I have read stuff in the newspapers and magazines. I think that it's a fair country." The boy looked down, "at least compared to France." Werbel roared with laughter. The aide looked at him with puzzlement, and then growing offense. Before the young man could say anything, however, Werbel cut him short with a quick chamber snap of the revolver. "Those magazines don't tell you anything about the full picture." The mercenary clambered down from the heights. "They don't tell you jack shit about America. Land of the free, land of liberty, land of opportunity. You can find damn near everything there. Except maybe the fun of merc life." He took a sip of his whiskey, finally putting his gun into its holster. "Save up. Save the fuck up. You are young, 21, right? Maybe there you'll find the girl of your dreams and settle down in a nice farm somewhere in Texas, or something like that." The aide could do nothing but nod. Drunk Werbel was a font of wisdom and violence, and the boy could do nothing but smile at his ridiculousness, at his extravagance. "Whatever you say, sir." Alright, so from what I see, I actually can't do anything because the provinces are, well, big. They are big as hell. So I think that the best thing that I could do was just draw some plans and wait for, well, something. What? How? Why? Maybe that's how we will be able to get into Omolon. The kid. "Are you comfortable, Mr. Sablin?" the interpreter said, relaying the message from his employer, who sat directly across from Sablin, the maverick mercenary Mitchell Werbel III. A scarce few days before, the government of West Alaska had sentenced Valery Sablin, former commissar of the NKVD, to death. Now he sat with the de facto dictator of the nation, the latter puffing through fumes from his cigar like the smokestacks of overworked factories. "Yes," Sablin said, in the most baffled tone he could manage. "Why am I here?" When his guards told him that he was meeting Werbel, he believed that he would be marched like lambs to the slaughter, to stand before the gun barrel of a ruthless mercenary and hunted down without mercy. Instead, he found himself before a polished plate, with a lustrous steak flanked by silverware. Far from the dark basement of the Magadan prisons, this dining room was well lit, a chandelier hanging above, its beads shining like little glassy stars. "We are just here to have dinner in peace, from man to man," Werbel said. A final goodbye. A mercenary draped in the trappings of a waiter poured red wine to Sablin's glass. "Want a cigar, Mr. Sablin? Although, maybe you don't know how to smoke one of these yet." Werbel smiled at Sablin, a look free of malice and ill intent, a steel facade worn over an evil face. When he found the commissar staring at him, with a mix of befuddlement and disgust, he tipped his glass over in Sablin's direction. Come on, Mr. NKVD. The wines isn't that bad. I'm fine, thanks, Sablin said. I would rather suffer the indignity of imprisonment than being entreated and brought over to the side of an enemy of socialism. Werbel laughed again. Who says you were going to live, Mr. Sablin? You are 23 at most. Live a little. He coughed. Before you die, that is. He gestured his fork at Sablin. Go on, dig in. He drank his wine and ate the food, not paying attention to the commissar at all, who did not touch his plate. He left Werbel's presence as resigned of his fate as before, although a part of him wondered what the mercenary truly was. A puzzling night, to be sure. Alright, so let's go with the focuses. Maybe proclaim the Soldiers' Republic. With the defeat of the Reds in the west and their lands entirely within our hands, the Republic of West Alaska, the first of its kind, is at its greatest extent. The cities of the regions of Irkutsk and Buryatia now reside within our borders, along with their factories, labor force, personnel, and expertise. It seems that with every day that dawns upon the Far East, the mercenaries are making more and more progress. It is time to proclaim the foundation and ideas of our new state. A republic, not for the people, not for any ideologies or ideals, but soldiers. For those that nations abandon. For those who have outlived their usefulness, the Soldiers' Republic. All warriors from all nationalities will be welcome to call the soil of West Alaska their home. Whoever believes in Werbel's ideals shall give guns, we shall give guns, uniforms, and a life spent on the battlefield. No longer shall the coatings and appearances of nationalities and ideas divide us. I have no idea why, but the AI decided to leave the Omolon here. So maybe let's just go right into it. Maybe that's how it was supposed to be. I have no idea. Okay, so now the capital is here. So let's just go into Kamchatka and let's end this. A soldier's constitution. Werbel leaned forward on his desk, his armchair either too small or too large for him, depending on the moment. In his head pounded the noisiest headache known to a man. He shouldn't have drunk anything before today. His grip on his pen was slippery, and his grasp on reality equally as magnificent. Putting his pen down, he cracked his fingers together and stretched, triggering an avalanche pain in his head as the cranks of his shoulder administered their punishment. Every tremor of his head, every twitch of the eye seemed to shake and break reality around him. Man, that's a hell of a headache. In front of him was the mother of all documents he had to ever write. He liked to pretend that in his alcohol-induced waking nightmare that the black trails of ink were pearls of wisdom shining in the dark. The other part of him called it bullshit. The sum of himself, the part that thought the chair was too big, believed the latter. Sometimes one must lie for the truth to shine on. Another piece of bullshit. A door knock. Are you done? The voice of the fearful French aide said. Sir? Werbel decided against replying. His throat was parched, and whatever sound that emanated from it, no mortal human being can ever withstand. He could do with a glass of warm water, but no. Constitution first, sir. Damned French and their constitutions. What do they know about running nations? 2 empires, 3 republics, and a country that was half sunk into clutches of the Mediterranean. He grumbled, he complained, he shuddered and shivered. Sighing, he admitted that it would probably need to be done sooner or later. He peered down on the great sheet of paper and saw that he only just got onto minority protections. It was going to be a long day. He never really was a desk jockey. Okay, so now let's go with the faithful. We are at war with the divine mandate, so we will get division organization. Oh fuck, I haven't paused the game. And attack bonus against country. Okay, that's Great. To our north, a new adversary has appeared. The father, whose name is Alexander Mien, has assembled a motley crew of peasant militias and disillusioned NKVD and fascist soldiers to assist in his cause. He seems to be a Christian anarchist, who, ironically, for one of orthodox disposition, holds unorthodox ideas of Christianity. From the reports of fire-based Moses, this force is mighty indeed, perhaps the strongest that we may fight in the Far East, aside of the Reds in Irkutsk and Buryatia. The war against him will no doubt take a toll on our personnel count and time. However, making the first move will perhaps get us the leg up needed to succeed in crushing his forces. Regardless, many within our ranks are feeling antsy with braving such a vast and motivated force. We have seen insurgents all over the world. This is the reason we ought to succeed. But I don't think it will be necessary, because we are actually running into Petropavlovsk-Kamchatskiy, so maybe we'll just conquer them without any bullet shot. Okay, so the Petropavlovsk-Kamchatskiy is mine, but they are not done yet. Where should I go now? Holy fuck. That's a long, long way home. Can you just do this? I mean, I understand that this will be the fastest route, but is it the safest one? Yeah, well, fuck it. Okay, so maybe let's go with the war and hearts. The war for hearts and minds. From the outset, it is clear that the father relies on the support of the peasants and hunter-gatherer communities concentrated in the northern parts of the Far East. As he travels south, however, many joined him, willing to give their lives for the kingdom of God as envisioned by Alexander Mien. These peasants, although untrained, are numerous. However, by relying on these, Alexander Mien has made a crucial mistake. All it needs to shatter his base of support is to win over their hearts and minds. It boils down to that then, a war of propaganda. From our radio stations in Magadan, we shall shout for the liberation of the Far East from the tyranny of that heretic. Our soldiers will perform infiltration raids into enemy territory, distributing rations and food in exchange for information and intelligence. Without his base of support, the father is nothing. His house of cards shall fall, trembling into the dark. Ah, fuck. They have regained their capital. Okay, maybe let's help them. Alright, so the focus is now complete. Let's go with efficient supply chains. The war against the father is ongoing. Our soldiers, assembled from the greatest mercenaries the world has ever seen, are faring relatively well, considering their numbers and our circumstances. However, there is a problem. We are fighting in the enemy's favored area. The rough terrain, combined with the harsh weather, makes it difficult for soldiers to resupply amid the chaos of the lines. Not to mention the lack of infrastructure, and roads ensures that no trucks would pass unmolested through the Siberian woods. With the amount of punishment that the father is giving us, we need to secure that steady supply of ammunition and guns make it through front lines. We will attempt to replicate the enemy's techniques and methods, adapting their system to better suit our way of conducting war. Fast runners, new roads and routes, as well as reassurance up and down the line that supplies are incoming should do the trick. After all, this is not the first rodeo for many of our soldiers. Alright, so we are actually trying to cope with what we have here. The father is actually relentless in his assault, so we need to find something to be able to crush him, and this is the thing: shock and awe. The supply lines are secure, and the war over the hearts and minds of the Siberian peoples are well underway. However, there is still a persistent problem. The father in the north holds an advantage in personnel that we could not quite match. At the portions of the line that we hold, fending off the militias proves to be a doable task. There lies our problem. There are not enough of us to keep the peasants from breaking through sections of the front left unguarded. If we let them continue as they please, they will whittle us down to nothing. Werwell has no plan prepared for his loss, however. The answer to his predicament lies in acting in complete contradiction to the enemy's expectations. He shall attack. By making quick, decisive strikes against the weak parts of their lines, we can overwhelm them and isolate their divisions, neutralizing any threats that they may have. These peasant rabbles may be many, but cut off from supplies of food, they can do nothing except surrender. Okay, so maybe we'll be able to cut them off here, here, because there are 4 divisions, and maybe it will weaken them. Alright, so the first one. Novosibirsk unifies Central Siberia. Pokryshkin. Okay, so this one is the first to be taken care of, I think. Maybe we'll be able to infiltrate Chernyshevsky by just using our light brigade. Or maybe not. Or maybe yes. Okay, not quite, but maybe we'll be able to go around. This one sounds pretty damn dangerous, and they are going down against the party route. They have retaken Omolon again. Imagine playing a war so fucking boring that you don't have anything to say. That's what I'm doing now. I have nothing interesting to say right now, because this war is so boring. It's like, conquering Russia in normal HOI4, past, Stalingrad and so on. But finally, maybe now we'll be able to conquer the Divine Mandate and have a breather, some breathing room, I mean. No? And it will capitulate when it has 35% or less. Oh, fuck, I need Ivinsk. God, I hate it. I really do. No. You are staying right here. And what about you? How much time? 7 days. Okay. Well, fucking finally. Alright, so now with the dad finally taken care of, we may go down the focus tree, I think. Face the father. Alexander Mień has been defeated. The father in the north, a rebellious character whose perversions of orthodox thinking has allowed himself to get this far, now lay in our hands, at our complete and utter mercy. Werwell, not understanding what all the riffraff about religion is all about, now has to deal with disposing of him. He is honest. The father for him might as well be an alien from another world, come here to preach a strange faith. The Romans, however, might hold the secret to the solution. Damnatio memoriae. The father does not exist and has never existed. We may not have close relations with the church, but with enough badgering, they should cave and declare that Mień is a heretic. We will need to herd the masses away from the ideas of the father, no matter how worthy they are of realization. Once we defeat him, we will possess the northern parts of Siberia and one step closer to the completion of West Alaska as a state. Alright, so now let's face the father. Confessions of a mercenary. They let him wear his clerical attire, his black robes, and the crucifix wrapped around his neck. They gave him food, not rotting, bottom of the barrel food, but actual edible meals. Even after the tribunal sentenced him to death by firing squad, they did not stop the special treatment. The father, Alexander Mień, took everything they gave him with a pinch of salt. Gifts from human beings can never surpass the grace of the Lord. Holding it close to his heart, he accepted that his fate was to suffer in the clutches of soft mercy. He faced it. He refused to wear his attire, preferring instead to wear the threadbare drab wear of the other prisoners. Today, however, was different. They forced him, first softly, later almost at gunpoint, to wear his clerical robes. The guards said that their master, the deplorable and reviled mercenary, Mieczysław Werbel III, sought to meet him and confess. The remark alone stunned him, not to mention its repercussions. He was not even sure if Werbel was baptized in the Orthodox rite. His men discussed his Russian descent, but surely not. He debated the question until they brought him before Werbel. "I have nothing to say to you," Mień said, "and I doubt that your intent to confess was ever pure." He resisted the urge to spit before his tribulation, the punishment for his failed trial. The two men stood and stared at one another before Werbel started. "Come on, father." Werbel flashed a smirk at the agitated father. "I am irreligious. I just want to talk, to see how a man of God views my career. Perhaps even," he paused, "a blessing," he continued. "I like to believe that I had been merciful in my youthful pursuit, industrious in the art of war, and an enthusiastic practitioner of the Lord's gift, resolving conflicts with violence." He thumped his revolver. "I am an arms dealer, and not just guns either. Men, tanks, artillery guns, the many things that render modern conflict possible." Stepping closer to the father. "I have committed many sins, father, and I do not see a way to turn back. Perhaps with your blessing I can—" "No," Mień cut him off. The surprise didn't register on Werbel's face. "I thought so." He grinned. "Take him away. We are done. Perhaps priests have spines after all." Alright, so this is the end, probably, of this focus, or it will, unlock other part. The best is yet to come. The armies of West Alaska have triumphed over the Reds in the east and the Father in the north. Werbel admits that he has achieved far more than he had initially expected him to. From a lowly mercenary, the payroll of the most quarrelsome bastard in the Far East, he has come to possess the entirety of the east coast of Russia, staring at his mother country from across the Bering Strait. He doesn't doubt that he, a drunkard and an old, disgruntled soldier, could go far, but an entire state under his pocket? Madness. Pure madness. Now's not the time to be sentimental, however. To the west, Russia is still in chaos, divided between states that vie with one another for their eventual supremacy over Russian soil. There is so much to do. He looks to his home, and then to his domain. There is work to be done. The best is yet to come. Now, the focus is complete, and let's wait. We didn't have to. Werbel and Nancy stepped into the town. A few days ago, enemy insurgents had occupied it, turning the overly large village into a pitched battleground. Shells dotted the ground, and brick buildings lay there shattered, their facade now scattered around them. In the distance, a half-sunk parish overlooked the town, its bells hollow. An artillery strike had struck in its tower, and the defenders had to watch as the building sagged and leaned, retreating quickly in fear of further fire. Survivors from both sides staggered through the ruin, seeking medical attention and food. A shrill cry sounded in the distance. "What a mess," Nancy said. "But I guess you are used to this, seeing as..." She turned to see Werbel's puffing a cigar, enjoying his time as if he was walking on his own backyard. "It's nice to see that at least someone is enjoying this trip out in the woods." She glanced at the woman in white who hurried between the medical tents, carrying in their arms medical supplies and tools, as well as alcohol to clean wounds. Local medics. Thank God for them. It was her idea. Their mission had expanded exponentially, and now she was sitting in the front seat to the most mind-boggling phenomenon in Russia. She sighed. Her stay would be longer than expected after all. Taking his cigar out of his mouth, Werbel blew wisps of smoke that wafted around him like a fine mist. This may not look like it, he said, turning to Nancy. But we are saving these people, for God's sake. He kicked a mound of dirt in front of him. They can't even save themselves. Remember Germany? He smiled. We'll make soldiers out of them just yet. Looking at two listless men who stood in front of the remnants of their house, their face emptied by disbelief and filled with uncertainty. We will give them life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Maybe coming here was a mistake. Maybe the entirety of this mission was a mistake. I hope you're right, she said. I would hate for all this suffering to go into something wrong. I am never wrong. And we have a big-ass focus tree now. Alright. Whoa. God damn. So... probably we will have to go down... No, we need to only go with this focus and it will unlock everything. Alright, so... we will go down this route, governed like a Cincinnatus, as I have told you I'll go. But not in this episode. This is the end, and I hope that you've liked my attempt at winning the wars between the wars with Buryatia and Mandate, because I wasn't prepared at all, and even though I have managed to do this, but I am very, very tired. I don't like such long conflicts, especially in TNO, because it can be very, very long. But enough of my bitching. I hope that you've liked this episode, and if you do, please subscribe, leave a comment, and big fat thumbs up. And if you'd like to leave me some money, then be sure to check out my Patreon. The link is down in the description below. So, see you in the next one. See ya.